So this is just a ramble. It's not meant to, cause too much of a back and forth, but I got to the end of a lot of work today, and I decided that I have the time to respond to, discussions here on YouTube. I like the peach Waterloos. I like the beach plum better, but I ran out. That's a LaCroix flavor. It's awesome. So it started with Kizzume said something in a video about anti-racists, and I decided to respond that I'm an anti-racist, and I do think that we should dismantle whiteness, and I'm ready to answer anyone's questions. I put AMA on my comment. Ask me anything. No one did. One person said, okay, pal. But I was just doing that like, hey, pew, pew, I'm your Huckleberry. Let's go. We could talk about this. And I don't mind that there's not a lot of people who will defend these positions in any circles on YouTube that are accessible. That will have these conversations. So, I told Kizzume I'm an anti-racist and that I do believe that we need to dismantle whiteness. And he made a YouTube video response, and it was called Dismantling Whiteness, ? I'll just move that over here so I can look at the comments, and then I just left him. Instead of making this, which might turn into an hour-long video, I don't know. Because you know me, right? I ramble. I said, without making an hour-long video, I'll just leave you this question. What if the reasons that whiteness must be dismantled include that the label is also used to oppress those that identify as white in a larger colonial and capitalist framework? And his response was, capitalism doesn't need to be dismantled unless one thinks socialism is a better economic system. Aside, that's a false dichotomy. Colonialism isn't a significant part of American culture any longer. I'll address that. Claiming it isn't much different than saying that slavery never ended. Well, there are those that would argue that the effects of slavery are still here, and I've already said in videos that we have elements of it, such as patriarchal family systems, especially on farms where you can pop out kids and force them to do child labor and everybody thinks it's okay. We still tip people, which is a nod to our slavery past. You can look further into that. I've already mentioned that in other videos, but let's see. Neither of those things oppress those that identify as white, so I don't get your meaning. And I will oblige you, okay? Whew. So, first, Kizzume's a friend, everybody, right? We're just having conversations. We're not going to leave comments saying, slow-roasted Kizzume here, right? It was funny. It was funny. But these aren't honage videos anymore. That's not my style, okay? So, Kizzume, my friend, I want to zoom out for a second and clarify why people talk about dismantling whiteness at all, right? It's not about hating white people or hating European culture or even harmless traditions. It's not about hating on those things. It's about taking apart this social construct. And I know you don't like the word social construct because a lot of things get said about social construct this and social construct that. Like, a lot of your commenters probably think that, oh, that's a Kizzume comment right there. Okay. I'll get to you later. Okay. So, a lot of Kizzume commenters don't like hearing that, gender is a social construct and, race is a social construct. Well, hear me out. We're talking about whiteness. And we're taking apart this social construct when we deconstruct it. And this social construct in particular, whiteness, was designed to be a tool of control. When whiteness was invented, in our historic timeline of things, like this whiteness concept wasn't around until colonial America, right? Look at history. Like, you'll find nationalism, you'll find, people tied to their land and all that, but you don't see whiteness, right? God damn it. Who's buzzing me? Throw this phone over there. So, where was I? Okay, so in early colonial America, we had a lot of people who weren't considered white, but would be considered white today. We're talking like Irish people who worked on railroads, and Italian people, Jewish people, Eastern European people. They weren't considered white back then. They got folded into whiteness later because the ruling elite needed a larger block of people to identify with the system of power rather than resist it. Okay? And I've actually seen in certain parts of the country where Latino people believe that they are also white. Asian people in some parts, de facto white. And it always flips on how many people does it take to enforce the system of power rather than resist it. That's how many people we're going to allow into whiteness, right? Whiteness as a category has always been political and not cultural, right? When I say dismantling whiteness, it's different from saying dismantle Italian culture or dismantle Native American traditions. Those are ethnic or cultural heritages. Whiteness, by contrast, is a power system. It exists only in relation to blackness, indigeneity, and otherness. Okay? Its function historically has been to divide the working people and grant privileges to just the white people, this the portion of the people that are on the upper end of this power structure, and it justifies the exploitation of everybody who isn't white. Okay? And when I say that that dismantling whiteness is related to colonialism and capitalism, you said that colonialism isn't a significant part of American culture anymore. But I want you to think about this. Think about every treaty broken with Native American nations, right? Every reservation system that we still have, and think about them as a parallel to what's going on in, say, Israel with the Gaza Strip. I want you to think of every land seizure for eminent domain for like a pipeline or mining, okay? That's our entire economic system is based on like stolen land and stolen labor, okay? That's not something that ended in 1776. It's not ancient history. It's present tense, right? Capitalism in America is literally built to manage colonial spoils, right? We're talking about like the cotton, the sugar, the land speculation, the railroad expansion. Why do we have paper money? You know, why? It's because of the businesses surrounding those things. And then we get into oil, we get into technology. Whiteness is part of the capitalist system of managing who gets what, right? It continues to need categories like whiteness to rationalize this unequal distribution of power and wealth. When we say whiteness even oppresses white people, what we mean is whiteness teaches poor working class white people that their value lies in not being black, you know, which is not much of an achievement. You were born with it, right? You didn't do anything to get that. But yeah, your value is not being black. You're not an immigrant. You're not indigenous. And that identification with, at least I'm not one of those things, that's led to people defending the systems that keep the oppression of those other people, like low wages, like union busting and mass surveillance at work, and, you know, wars, you know, whatever. And that identification with whiteness, it exploits them too, right? Because they've all been convinced that their whiteness puts them closer to the top, right? And Kizzume, I see you and your whiteness, right? And I'm here to tell you that your whiteness doesn't get you any closer to being a millionaire. You're far closer to being homeless on the street, right? Most people are, including me. And I consider myself pretty well off. But I am far closer to a homeless person than a millionaire or a billionaire, right? But for a lot of people, at least I'm not the lower class because of the color of my skin. That's enough for them to feel good about themselves and feel like they're closer to the top, you know? And in that sense, whiteness is a trap. It hounds out like these little crumbs of privilege where you can, you know, snub your nose at people who aren't white in exchange for, like, I don't know, you're part of being loyal to a hierarchy that ultimately just serves a few people at the top, you know, that are white and rich. But most white people are never going to get there. It's just that, you know, they're complacent because they don't have to work that hard to at least not be black. And watching your video, Kizzume, I thought it was a little bit of an overreaction to say that dismantling whiteness was trying to throw out traditions or politeness. Nobody's trying to throw out politeness. Okay, here I am making this video, defending the position of dismantling whiteness as an anti-racist, and I'm not trying to not be polite when I'm doing it. So yeah, we're not saying that dismantling whiteness would be throwing out politeness or throwing out impulse control or beauty standards. Wow, dude. Just because white people also value those things doesn't mean that that's what we mean by deconstructing whiteness. The problem is when those things are universalized as the only civilized way of being. For example, saying, like you did, that bottled up feelings is civilized. That's historically been weaponized against communities who express their emotions differently. I live really close to the Dene people on the Navajo reservation, and you should see some of their moods. They would be very misdiagnosed by our Western standards. They don't express themselves in quite the same way all the time. But also, stereotypically black people are described as being angry, and, some indigenous tribes are called savages, and Latino people are too passionate what they love, The issue isn't the practice of restraint itself. It's when whiteness positions itself as superior and uses white emotions to measure other people's humanity. And everybody take a drink because I said the word humanity again. That's our drinking game. So here's this liberatory project that I have of deconstructing whiteness in an anti-racist way. We're going to take apart this power system that says proximity to white makes you more human. Okay? More employable, more beautiful, dude, or more civilized. Right? It doesn't mean dismantling cultures or taking away holidays or family traditions or nothing like that. You keep whatever food you want to eat. Even if it's mayonnaise based and has been sitting out for a long time and it has both grapes and raisins, which is like the fresh form and the dried form in the same macaroni salad with walnuts. Defend that as your culture, fine. But and then sprinkling Mexican cheese, just because it's cheddar and mozzarella put together, they call it Mexican. And then not even melting it at all into the macaroni. Ugh. I make fun of white culture all the time, but that's neither here nor there. We're going to leave all those traditions, right? We're just not going to let those things be used as weapons or the yardstick of what value other people have, okay? This is freeing to white people too, okay? It allows them to embrace cultural particularities like Irishness or Polishness or Italian American heritage. All these identities that have been replaced by a whitewashing of Europeans as just all one big white amalgamous blob that should all have the same traditions. No. Whiteness has been robbing a lot of Americans of their heritage because you're more than just white. Okay? It dismantling this whiteness would allow people to not have to carry the burden of defending this abstract category that's only purpose is to maintain domination in a capitalist market in America. So, I'm getting tired here. It's the end of my day. But, so, sum it all up. Dude, dismantling whiteness is not about erasing anything beautiful or anything harmless, like in your video. It's about refusing to keep propping up a game that's fucking rigged. Okay? If we want a society that's based on liberation of everyone rather than hierarchy that is unchanging, if you want hope that you can ever move up in life, then dismantling whiteness is one necessary piece of dismantling this colonial capitalist system itself. I have this feeling that I've used too many buzzwords, and that there are some people on the internet that when they come across this video, they might use that nuclear explosion head emoji when they're leaving a comment, like so angry at you for using all of those words. All right. We're chill. Till next time.